Canada has only ever had 23 prime ministers in its 156 years of existence. Of those, we've only ever had prime ministers from two parties, the Liberal Party and the Conservative Party. The Liberal Party is the same institution as the one from Confederation, barring the fact that it has evolved over time. However, the Conservative Party has changed numerous times. In fact, if you go on good old Wikipedia, you will see that the Conservative Party of Canada has only existed for 20 years? Then what party were John A. MacDonald, Brian Mulroney, Robert Borden, John Diefenbaker, and friends from? In the next few minutes, I'll explain just that. The year is 1867. The British Parliament has just passed the British North America Act, which established a self-governing British Dominion in North America with 4 provinces, which was named Canada. Of these negotiators who helped draft the BNA was John A. MacDonald. John A. MacDonald was made leader of the new Liberal Conservative Party of Canada, which was a party that brought together many different types of people. John A. MacDonald would eventually be elected Canada's first Prime Minister and changed the party name to the Conservative Party of Canada, which became the main opposition to the Liberals. Policy debates in early Canadian history involved how close Canada wanted to be with nations that weren't Britain, America for example, free trade, and Indigenous peoples. When MacDonald died shortly after winning his 5th majority government, the Conservative Party and the coalition that MacDonald built had gradually fell apart in those 5 years, and the party went through 4 different leaders and prime ministers before the 1896 election. Many in his party were angry about MacDonald's handling of the Northwest Rebellion and his approval of Louis Riel's execution, which alienated many Francophones and drew them towards the Liberal Party. In 1896, Wilfrid Laurier was elected Canada's 7th Prime Minister and served 15 years straight as Prime Minister. After him was Robert Borden, whose government is notable for presiding over World War I and granting white women the right to vote and run for Parliament. After him, however, the Liberals governed for 2/3 of the next century, which helped the Liberals become known as Canada's natural governing party, and in any given election made the Conservatives the underdogs. In 1942, after multiple losses to Canada's longest-serving Prime Minister, William Lyon Mackenzie King, the Conservative Party asked Manitoba's Premier of 19 years, John Bracken, to become their party leader. Bracken agreed to become the leader, but on the condition that the party be renamed the Progressive Conservative Party of Canada. They agreed, and Bracken became the leader for 6 years and kept on the streak of losing to the Liberals. This streak of losing continued until 1957, when after 27 years straight out of government, John Diefenbaker was elected Canada's first PC Prime Minister. And only 9 months after this win, he decided to call another election due to many positive factors in his party's favor, which saw them go from a minority government to the largest majority in Canada's history, with the party winning 208 of the 265 seats. Diefenbaker passed the Bill of Rights into law, changed Canada's foreign policy to try and become more independent of American Britain, granted First Nations peoples the right to vote, and built the Trans-Canada Highway. He is also famous for the Avro Arrow and its cancellation, which I might discuss in another video. After Diefenbaker's defeat in 1963, the PCs were out of government until Joe Clark won a minority against Pierre Trudeau in 1979. Many on the right breathed a sigh of relief that another Liberal power streak was over, and that Pierre Trudeau was resigning as Liberal leader. But, in the most neutral way possible, Joe Clark might have forgotten how to count votes. 8 months into his term, his government proposed a budget which didn't appease any of the opposition parties whatsoever, and he fell in a confidence vote, leading to the 1980 election, which saw Pierre Trudeau back as Prime Minister when he unresigned as party leader. As the Liberals lost popularity again though, he resigned once and for all, and his former right-hand man, John Turner, became Prime Minister. However, the new and charismatic and popular PC leader, Brian Mulroney, managed to build a strong nationwide coalition of support, which won him another record majority in 1984 and another sizable majority in 1988. I made an entire video about Brian Mulroney in the wake of his death, so I'll refer you to that video to learn more about him. In 1993, seeing the PC's poll numbers falling, and after making a decision to delay the next election by a year, Brian Mulroney stepped down to make way for a new leader. The PCs fell as the Bloc Québécois gained support after one of Mulroney's cabinet ministers, Lucien Bouchard, formed the Quebec Separatist Party, Bloc Québécois, after Brian Mulroney tried to pass constitutional amendments to please the province, which failed. And as the West felt ignored as this was going on, and Brian Mulroney implemented unpopular policies like the GST, the Reform Party, a Western interest party, grew in support. and this wasn't helped by the PCs picking Kim Campbell, a first-term MP who lacked the skills necessary to get these voters back, as their new leader and prime minister. The PCs got squeezed into 5th place, with Campbell losing her own seat and the PCs winning only 2 seats that election. Yes, I said that correctly, 2. The Bloc Québécois formed official opposition, with the Reform Party very close to them in 3rd, and Jean Chrétien as yet another Liberal Prime Minister. The Progressive Conservatives eventually went on to win a few more seats, winning 20 under Jean Charest in 1997 and 12 under former Prime Minister Joe Clark in 2000, who returned to try and revive the party. Meanwhile, the Reform Party became the second-place party and hovered around 65 seats in these 2 elections. The 2 parties were competing for very similar voters, and in both of these elections, many complained of vote splitting between the 2 parties, which helped Jean Chrétien win back-to-back-to-back elections. Adding their votes together, it was felt that many more anti-Chrétien MPs could be elected if they merged to form one big Conservative party under the historical name of the Conservative Party of Canada. In 2003, the PCs elected Peter MacKay as their leader. Peter MacKay had signed a pledge that he would not explore a merger with the Canadian Alliance, which is the new name the Reform Party had given themselves. However, as the 2 parties fell in the polls to 3rd and 4th place, MacKay began talks with the relatively new Canadian Alliance leader, Stephen Harper, about forming a joint party. In the summer of 2003, they submitted a deal to their party memberships, who overwhelmingly voted to merge. There was much more distaste towards the merger on the PC side, who felt sold out and that the PCs had effectively been annexed by the CA. Former Prime Minister Joe Clark refused to endorse the new party, and some MPs even refused to join the new party. The party lost to new Prime Minister Paul Martin in 2004, but beat him in 2006 after he fell on a confidence vote. They had elected former Canadian Alliance leader Stephen Harper as their leader, overwhelmingly, in 2004 before the election. Stephen Harper became Canada's first CPC Prime Minister, and his government lowered the GST, passed multiple tough-on-crime measures, was very pro-oil and gas, and positioned Canada into an assertive foreign policy stance. Since he left power in 2015, the CPC has been under 5 different leaders. Rona Ambrose served as their interim leader from the fall of 2015 until the spring of 2017, when Andrew Scheer was elected leader. After he lost in 2019, they made Erin O'Toole their leader. He also lost in 2021 to Trudeau, and in February of 2022 was removed by his own party caucus. After a brief interim leadership by Candice Bergen, they elected Pierre Poilievre as their leader by an overwhelming margin, with him winning 70% of the votes. The question now is, where do the Conservatives go from here? Will Pierre Poilievre be the second CPC Prime Minister in Canadian history? Are the Liberals still the natural governing party? Let me know in the comments down below. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider giving it a like and subscribing, as that helps me out a lot. But apart from that, have a good rest of your day, and see you.